Hello lovely people. Hi, I'm Jessica. For those of you who are new here, who came across this video because you got a little bit nervous and typed into Google, does getting a mobility aid mean that you've given up? Or maybe you got sent this video because maybe you told someone who's interested in getting a mobility aid that they would be giving up. Oh friend, that's not great. I'm sure you were well intentioned, but ouch. Let's talk about mobility aids. What they are, why you might need one, and some misconceptions you might have. Also, please welcome back and round of applause for the cutaway wall, which is now finished. Welcome back, side shots. I missed you. Subscribe, even if just for the side shot wall. And thank you to the members of the Kellgren-Fozard Club here on YouTube, who are a fab group of people who help support this channel and me spreading awareness about disability issues, for which I'm really grateful. If you'd like to join, you can click the join button down below, provided it's available in your country, and get access to some fun perks and a monthly behind the scenes video. So, blah blah blah, what's wrong with me? Let's cut to the chase. P.S. Don't actually ask people what's wrong with you. I have two genetic disabilities, one that affects my nerves and one that affects my connective tissue. That's hereditary neuropathy with liability pressure palsy and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome with associated postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Don't worry, there's not a test at the end and you don't need to remember this. Basically, I'm like a floppy bag of bones, but every time I flop, it hurts. You can see the video up here for a more detailed summary, but floppy bag of bones with nerves that kind of paralyze but also cause extreme pain is pretty much the great summary that you need. Deafness. It also causes deafness. I'm deaf. That's a thing. Oh, and I'm blind in one eye. Oh, I noticed that a lot less. Other than my nose. Really noticed my nose. Such a big nose. You never realise how big your nose is until you can't see out of one eye. And then boy, is it right there. There isn't a lot holding my bones together, so going great distances can be a real struggle that is both painful and exhausting. However, my condition is variable, and what I can manage one day, I can't manage another. This may mean that I just choose not to go on that outing because it involves walking further than I can manage, and I mean a leisurely stroll around the garden of some National Trust place. Or, in order that I can still participate in the day, I do go, but I take a wheelchair with me. Even when using my wheelchair, I generally can still stand up, and there are moments where I'm required to do so, such as transferring from chair to wheelchair or into a car, or going into an inaccessible building, because I live in England and we were built by Tudors who thought that old age was 40, and if you couldn't be cured by bloodletting, well then, haha, death for you. Hence, I'm an ambulatory wheelchair user, a disabled person who needs to use a wheelchair but can also stand and walk in some circumstances. Oh, and this is completely skipping the part where my body does this really weird nerve thing where it like paralyzes from the lower back down for a month every year because I have some kind of recurring injury site there, but my doctor isn't quite sure how to prevent that one yet, so it freaks me out and we're just going to brush over it. I made a series of videos about finding the perfect mobility aid for me, and there's a lot of info in that series. You can watch it by clicking the card in the top left-hand corner of the screen, or by going to the link in the description. But, spoiler alert, an electric wheelchair ended up being the best option for me. One of the most asked questions through the series though, and one I still get asked now, was, does getting a mobility aid mean you're giving up? Oh honey. Oh. Let's break that down. Firstly, what is a mobility aid? A mobility aid is a device designed to assist walking or otherwise improve the mobility of people with a mobility impairment. Included in this are wheelchairs, mobility scooters, Zimmer frames, crutches, canes, gait trainers, scooters, or even stair lifts. It's all about creating a freedom of movement similar to that of unassisted walking or standing up from a chair. You might not have considered this option even, but a white cane and a guide dog can also be thought of as mobility aids, since they help a person have a level of mobility they would not otherwise enjoy. And what does giving up mean? Well, it isn't nice. It's definitely not a kind thing to tell someone. I'm personally of the opinion that tough love doesn't work, especially when someone is dealing with ill health or a wonky body. Fighting hard in that situation is just going to make things worse. What you need is some compassion and kindness. But being compassionate and kind to yourself is actually one of the bravest things you can do. It's really, really hard. It's far harder than struggling on, even though that isn't the right thing for your body to be doing. Hold on a moment, let's bring it back. What do people mean when they say giving up? The assumption here is that either 1, disability is static, you are disabled or you are not. The world is black and white. If you sit in a wheelchair for even a second, you will never stand again. 2, disability will only go backwards. You should hold off as long as possible before you sit down in that wheelchair, regardless of the pain you're in now, because the only step after that is a bed and then doom. Yet, We all have entirely different journeys when it comes to the twisting roads our bodies will take us on through our lives, and it is incredibly personal to you. Your body, whatever level of health it may be in, exists independently of things that help you get through your day. Whether those things are a fuzzy jumper because it's cold, a sandwich because you're hungry, or a set of wheels to get you a distance further than you comfortably walk. I mean, no one is judging you for hopping in your car when you need to get all the way to the other side of town. I say that, but with the rising cost of fuel lately, I do feel like my own car is judging me. Because you couldn't feasibly walk that far and back in the time you have. You're just this, mushy, fragile little human being. It's understandable. And sometimes the body you've been given is a bit more floppy or pained or fragile or gosh darn just missing some pieces compared to the other bodies around you. And sure, maybe neither of you can walk to the other side of town, but they can walk to the end of the street and you can't. You have to break out your wheels to do so. So, quick point of order though, someone who can walk to the end of the street doesn't get to turn around and tell you that they can do it, so you must be able to do it too. Just like a marathon runner doesn't get to jog to the other side of town and then turn around and tell the two of you that, oh, it's easy, you can do it too. Only you know whether or not you need it. And that annoying person making all of the assumptions earlier was missing the main point, that the moment in your life at which you get a wheelchair is generally when you start to see an upturn in independence because there was a downturn. A mobility aid helps you to regain the things you'd started to lose and worried you'd never get back. One of the best pieces of advice about mobility aids is, if it's annoying to use it, you don't need it. If it's not annoying to use it, you need it. And I'm not talking about, is it annoying because other people are irritated that they have to lift your mobility aid into the car? Or is it annoying because you feel embarrassed when people look at you as you enter a room? Both of which are fully justified feelings to have, but not to the extent that you cause yourself physical damage because you're pushing your body past the point where you should have had a bloody sit down. Also, if you're asking me whether you need a mobility aid or not, you probably already know the answer to that question. I personally don't use my wheelchair daily because I don't leave my house daily. I've formed my day-to-day life, so it involves a lot of small movements from sitting to sitting to sitting to lying down playing with my baby. I just don't stand up much at home. It makes my feet purple and I feel quite faint and it hurts. For example, when I'm hanging up the washing, I sit on the floor next to the open machine and hang clothes on the drying rack from the lower levels up, reaching up as high as I can go until I stand up at the very end. In the bathroom every evening, doing my face routine and brushing my teeth, I always sit on the toilet with a little freestanding mirror rather than standing up over the sink to look in the big mirror, which is such a shame because the big mirror has lights around it that honestly make you look gorgeous even when you are feeling your worst, and it is such a confidence boost. We set up our house to be child-friendly to our baby, so he can be independent, but also so I can interact with him easily. I don't bend over, I just lie next to him on the floor. But I definitely always use my wheelchair on long walks, like in an airport, because getting to the gate can be very long and arduous. Plus, sitting on a plane for a long time means my joints are very stiff and I'll have trouble walking. Or if I was going up to London for the day to have a meeting, or generally traveling by train, which is just exhaustingly much further than Google Maps tells you it will be, because you have to go back and forth on yourself in a station and then like round and round and round. Because again, tiny old island, and we are working with what we have got and building on top of Victorian things. I also don't use my wheelchair in exactly the same way all year round because my condition is very changeable. At some points, conserving energy is the most important thing because my body is just weaker for a few months, and thus I'll use my wheelchair more. But it doesn't mean I'm injured, so please don't panic if you see me using my wheelchair in a video or on Instagram. I just need to sit down, but I also have somewhere to be. Conversely, at other times, it's more important that I'm able to really be moving my body around and getting my steps in, so I try to make sure that I'm walking as much as I'm able. Up to my limit though, I don't push myself. I have to find where I'm comfortable at on that day and then edge towards it, which, since it changes every day, is a little difficult, but that's the idea. That's a thing called pacing, learning where your energy limits are. And I have a video about it which you can watch by clicking the card up here or the link in the description down below. The secret is though, without my wheelchair, I cut things short. Without my wheelchair, I do give up on outings long before I want to. Without my wheelchair, I visit 2 shops rather than 5. I see only 2 areas of the museum, not 6. Without my wheelchair, I know that the next day I'll be exhausted rather than feeling fine. So if you feel like you're already cutting down on things in your life because they don't fit within the limits of your pain or energy, then how could using a mobility aid would allow you to use the same amount of energy you're comfortable doing but accomplish far more ever possibly be giving up? It can't. It isn't. A mobility aid is not an innately bad, negative thing, just like disability is not an innately bad, negative thing. It just is. Controversial, supposedly, but there we go. That's a video for another time though. A mobility aid is just an aid to your life and to helping you live the best version of it. If it's the right time for you to use a mobility aid, and if you're watching this video and doing lots of research and thinking about all of your options, then what you're about to access is freedom, not constriction. And that seems pretty great to me. Thanks for watching, and thank you again to the members of the Kellgren-Fozard Club who help to keep this channel going. If you'd like to become a member, click the join button below to sign up and support the channel whilst gaining access to exclusive content of behind the scenes goodies and a range of other stuff. If you're new, click the subscribe button and I will see you in my next video. Bye!